Whitaker Weekly is a 3 episode anime discussion podcast where two brothers discuss a show of their choice. The show can be anything from a current season flop to a decades old classic. What are they going to talk about next? Who knows? They sure don't. I'm Andrew.
I'm Lee.
And this is Whitaker Weekly. Welcome to another episode, guys. How's everybody doing? Go ahead and let us know in the comments. Anyways, I guess let's just get right into it, huh? E3 week. E3 week. Oh my goodness. Such exciting news coming out. The biggest bit of news for me, is Trials of Mana. Trials of Mana, Seiken Densetsu 3. It used to be called, well, it never had an official release outside of Japan. There were some fans that translated it, and the fan translation just kind of called it Secret of Mana 2. Yeah. But Square has officially released the Collection of Mana, which has Final Fantasy Adventure or Seiken Densetsu 1 in Japan, Secret of Mana, Seiken Densetsu 2, and Trials of Mana, which is Seiken Densetsu 3. And I hold Seiken Densetsu 3, Trials of Mana, in the same regard that I do Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI. Okay? I am so excited. I purchased it, I downloaded it, and I think this might be a good opportunity to say that we are actually working on some Let's Plays for our channel. We're not ready to go just yet. We're working with some people for the artwork and stuff like that. But our very first game is going to be Trials of Mana, the original Super Nintendo release, emulated on the Switch. And I'm really excited to share my love of this game with you guys. Anyways, not only have they released Trials of Mana, they also have. Oh, sorry. Not only have they released the Collection of Mana today, they announced a remake of Trials of Mana that's coming out early next year. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really, really excited about Trials of Mana. What other news did they have? I see that you wrote some stuff down.
You shared with me the fact that they announced Breath of the Wild 2 is in development.
Sequel to Breath of the Wild is what they're calling it.
It's a working title. Nothing's launched yet in terms of what they're going to call
it. Zelda got a haircut. She and Link are on some journey together in the caverns beneath Hyrule Castle. Or I don't know if it's beneath Hyrule Castle, but that's kind of implied that they're beneath Hyrule Castle in the trailer. But they are on a journey together, and they come across a corpse, a mummified corpse that's being held down by a hand. And
it's very interesting looking. We're going to share a link to the video on our site. So come visit us at whitakerweekly.com, and you'll see a link to the site there. Link to the video. Yeah. It just looks absolutely amazing.
Okay. Yeah, no, it does. It looks awesome. But yeah, they come across a mummified corpse, and people are there's a big, strong theory that mummified corpse is the mummy of Ganon or Ganondorf. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And other things have come out. They've announced 2 new characters for Smash Brothers. They've announced the hero from the Dragon Quest series, and you're going to be able to select multiple heroes. And then they announced Banjo-Kazooie for Smash Brothers as well. Some other real big announcements that I got real excited for. There's Elden, I think it's called Elden Rings or Elden Ring. I'm probably getting the name wrong, but it's the new Miyazaki game, the guy who headed up the Dark Souls games and Bloodborne. He's returning to dark fantasy, and George R.R. Martin consulted on this project. So
that's coming.
And
everybody knows now that Keanu Reeves' likeness is being used in a game, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes, he is playing a deceased character, actually, according to the lore of Cyberpunk, the tabletop RPG that they're basing their world off of, and they have all the lore for. They are basing that. He is playing Johnny Silverhand. Who, and I didn't know this, I kind of looked up some information about the character today, but he was a lead singer for the group called the Samurais, the Samurai. And the main character, V, in all the concept art they've shown of him / her, or of the, or like, just, or videos and things that they've shown of V so far, V is wearing a samurai jacket. Kind of a jacket in honor, or like a band jacket. But he passed away. Johnny Silverhand passed away a little while ago, and they've already kind of confirmed that figuring out why you can see this ghost of Johnny Silverhand is a big part of the story. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm real excited. Lots of cool stuff coming out from E3. But
that one game that's got Norman Reedus.
Yeah, they didn't really show anything new for that. Sony's not at E3 this year, but that's coming out as well.
And what's that game that has the Punisher as the villain?
Oh, that's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
They're doing
which
big name actors into things.
Yeah, and funnily enough, Outside Xbox has kind of been one of my favorite YouTube channels. They've been on a kick for Keanu Reeves for a little while. They made the joke, man. So when does Keanu Reeves show up? Well, he doesn't show up. Well, what do you mean he doesn't show up? You can't have a Breakpoint video game or a Point Break video game without Keanu Reeves and surfing. No. It's Breakpoint, not Point Break. Oh,
well, this is.
And then they just barely made a Sims video where they're playing The Sims 4, the new expansion pack for Sims 4, which is an island pack, and they made a bunch of their cast members in The Sims 4, and then their roommate John Wick. And what's sad is that they made that video on Saturday, but EA would not allow them to post the video until Sunday, which is when it was revealed that Keanu Reeves was in Cyberpunk 2077.
And
so
it's kind of made the announcement himself.
Yeah, he came out. He made the announcement himself. It was great. He was there. Someone in the audience said, "You're breathtaking." He's like, "Wasn't that breathtaking?"
Yeah, he says, "Wasn't that breathtaking?" And then he shouts,
talking about the trailer.
And he shouts, "You're breathtaking." And apparently that guy who made that shout got a free copy of the game.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So the guy shouted, "You're breathtaking," and then he's like, "No, you're breathtaking." And they've already made GIFs of it and stuff like that.
It's the most wholesome meme on the universe right now.
And someone pointed out, yeah, finally they've got Keanu Reeves in a video game. And I'm like, he was in The Matrix. I'm pretty sure there were Bill and Ted video games back in the 90s. Though someone also pointed a great meme showing Keanu Reeves in The Matrix from like 2001 or whenever that game came out.
Yeah.
It's like the last 17 years of video game advancement has all been just to get Keanu Reeves in another video game. And then it shows him as Johnny Silverhand.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, I'm excited. Nintendo also announced Animal Crossing. Or not announced. They showed more footage of the new Animal Crossing game for the Switch.
And they've mentioned that in an effort to better promote the health of their developers, they are more concerned about their developers being healthy,
well-being,
than meeting deadlines.
Yes. So they decided to go ahead and push it back. As opposed to, some big wig making an announcement and saying we're not pushing it back, we're keeping that regardless of the shape of the game. You guys need to do crunch. So yeah, I've always appreciated Nintendo when it comes to things like that. I remember, they pushed back Zelda Ocarina of Time a couple of years. They said it's going to come out at this time. They're like, nope, it's not ready yet, guys. You want to make sure that it's ready. And this is before, they could patch games. So they wanted to make sure that it was a good, solid game before they actually released it. I remember being like, oh, come on, I just want to play the game. But at the same time, I admire Nintendo for their willingness to put the health of their developers. Just put that before the release date. They want to make sure that their developers are healthy and happy and enjoying what they're doing. That way they can go ahead and keep making the great games that Nintendo's known for making. Yeah. Oh yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3. We could just keep going on this list just because of all the great games that everyone showed. But I did see another meme where Sony apparently didn't show up because they're focusing on the next gen hardware and they're not ready to show it yet. Microsoft showed current games. Yeah, Microsoft showed current games, and then they also talked about Project Scarlet. Hi, Kitty. Their next gen Xbox, which is also going to be cloud based for the most part. You'll still be able to buy a console at home. But I think actually it was Jason Schreier. I'm probably getting his name wrong, but he's a writer for Kotaku. He sent out a meme saying, everyone else, sorry for not showing so many games. We're really focused on getting ready for the next gen. Nintendo, LOL. Because they had a 40-minute presentation, and I think they showed as many games as every other press conference combined. I could be wrong about that number, but that's what it felt like. It was just game after game after game after game. Man, I love having a Switch. It's such a great console. Okay, so I guess that's it for the news, unless there's anything else we wanted to talk about. Oh, one more thing, anime related. My copy of Komi Can't Communicate Volume 1 came in the mail yesterday. And I've already started reading it, and it's delightful. It's such a wonderful manga. I will say, and I actually tweeted to Viz, they haven't responded. I'm not really expecting them to. I'm some nobody on the internet at this point. But one of my favorite things about the fan translations that I've seen is that the fan translations will point out that the names are puns. Like Tadano Hitohito, the main boy, his name literally means just a guy. And he is average across the board, okay? There's this one joke where they show the end of semester grades, and some people got really good, some of those got really bad, but he got the class average on every single one of his test scores. It's the exact same. So he's not bad, he's not great, he's just a guy. But yeah, no, it's yeah, he's just this guy, he's just this guy, so I'm super excited to have that. Can't wait to get more volumes and stuff like that. But I do kind of wish that they pointed out that the names are actually puns. They kind of have a splash page at the beginning where they show the characters and they kind of show that Tadano is average, and like they show like this person is sociable, this person is this person's that. But they don't really point out that their names are actually puns. That's what their entire character revolves around, are those puns. Anyway, well, he probably came up with the character first and then made the pun. But anyway, that's that. No more news. Let's go ahead and move into 3 episodes in.
All right, sounds good.
And this is your pick, so you go ahead and read.
All right, so this week I wanted to watch the first 3 episodes of the 2019 reboot of Fruits Basket. That's correct.
Yay!
Okay. Crunchyroll has the following synopsis. It reads, Toru Honda thought her life was headed for misfortune when a family tragedy left her living in a tent. When her small home is discovered by the mysterious Soma clan, she suddenly finds herself living with Yuki, Kyo, and Shigure Soma. But she quickly learns that their family has a bizarre secret of their own. When hugged by the opposite sex, they turn into the animals of the zodiac.
Okay, so let's go ahead and just get started. So the episode, so it starts off.
This show, it moved a whole lot faster this time, it feels. I mean,
I've never seen the original, so I don't know. I was going to say, though, that they crammed so much into the first 3 episodes that I felt like I'd watched 6 episodes instead of 3. Like, I paused it thinking that we'd seen so much. I'm like, when are the credits going to roll? And I realized that it was only 14 minutes into the first episode. And I'm like, oh, because this is typically where the first episode would end in most other anime. So, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So we're introduced to Toru, who is living on her own in a tent, and has a picture of her mom in the tent, and talks to her ridiculously cheerfully.
Yeah, she's a very, very happy girl.
What was it? I can't remember exactly what the setting was that caused her to have this conversation, but something we find out about her early on is that she hears the story of the Zodiac. The
episode 1 starts off with telling the story of the Zodiac, and then it turns out her mom's telling her that story at bed.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, the reason for that was that she had stumbled across the Soma residence and found the egg-shaped Zodiac figures, and then she met Shigure, and so she kind of flashbacked about the story about the Zodiac, and that's where her mom was telling her the story about how the rat tricked the cat into not coming to the party, and so the cat was disinvited from the Zodiac altogether.
That rat is a tricky guy because there's like the reason the rat's the first in the rotation is because the cow left early and the cow was planning on being there first, but the rat hitched a ride on the cow because he didn't want to walk anymore, and jumped off and got there first to be first in line before the cow.
Yeah.
So the rat's a sneaky punk in those stories.
But to finish what I was saying,
yeah.
Young Toru was so sad on behalf of the cat that she was willing to renounce the fact that she was born in the year of the dog and say she was born in the year of the cat. Just to make up for it.
In tears in her eyes as she's screaming to the moon from her bedroom, she's going to renounce being a dog and she's going to be a cat.
Yes.
That's what she wants.
Okay. So, yeah, a lot of stuff happens in the show. A lot of quick character introductions.
Yeah, a lot of quick character introductions. We meet Yuki and
Shigure.
Is his name Shigure?
Shigure is the one that.
Yeah, Shigure. Yep, Shigure. I have it written down there as well. But yeah, she comes to school with Yuki because it turns out the house that she's seen these little dolls at is Yuki's house, and Shigure's like, "Oh, wait, you're the dog? I'm a dog too," which we know what that means later on in the show. We learn that, but at first you think, oh, so he's 12 years older than her and he's flirting with her. That's creepy. Yeah, at least 12
older than a high school girl.
He's either 12, 24, 36, 48. It's not a good number if you're the same year as a high school girl. But anyway, she's about to leave because she's so embarrassed because they learn that she's in the she's living nearby, and they're just like, wait, you're living nearby? And she doesn't want to reveal that she's living in a tent, so she just runs off and goes to school, and Yuki goes shortly after her. We're correct. Did they walk together in the first episode? I don't remember.
They offers to walk together. They don't show them walking together, but it's implied because they do arrive at school at the same time.
They arrive at school at the same time, and sometime during the school day, Toru is surrounded by girls who are demanding he follows the school rules when it comes to interacting with the prince.
Yes.
Demanding that she works. Gosh, sorry.
They have made they called themselves Prince Yuki, and that they have made a series of rules of how to behave around this boy that's a year younger than them that they've idolized.
Yeah, they've completely idolized Yuki. They're in the same. She and Yuki are in the same class at school.
They're both first years. This is a club of second years that are
idolizing their school prince. But they keep saying these things like, you can't do this, or like, I forget what the rules are. I didn't write them down. They were just silly little things. But but then her friends appear. And Toru's friends appear, and they're both school Yankees. They're the school delinquents.
Yes,
They scare off these two girls. And, they scare off these three girls. And one of them, Hanajima, she's got dark hair, a long braid, and she says something to them that says, get out of here or I will censor, and it says censored, you with my brain, or with waves.
We'll use my waves to censor you.
Yeah. And they all freak out and run away. And this is a reoccurring thing with Hanajima. She's all about waves and things like that. Kind of like shoot, I'm forgetting his name, the character's name, but Donald Sutherland from Kelly's Heroes.
Oh, yes. Yes. Don't hit me with the negative wave so early in the morning.
Look at you with all the negative waves. First thing in the morning, hitting me with negative waves.
Oh, what was that?
I want to say Oddball. But I don't think
yeah.
Is it Oddball?
It's Oddball.
Yeah, he's a tank driver in a World War II movie. That's just an absolutely phenomenal movie. Anyway,
he's got pink paintballs in his tank cannon.
On accident. It was yeah. They loaded the wrong shell. But anyway, she then, the school day progresses. She goes to her after school job and things like that. And she doesn't want to reveal to her close friends that she is living in a tent. And the reason she's living with the tent is because the grandpa she was living with, her grandfather, moved to go live with another relative of his, which actually seems to be a fairly far away place, while they're renovating his house for the next several months. And so she decided to go ahead and live on her own because she was going to be living on her own at some point anyway, so might as well get the experience for it. So she
buys a cheap tent with holes in it that ants can get in through.
A cheap tent, ants can get into it. Slugs, there are slugs all over it. And she, as she's walking home that night, she gets discovered by Yuki and Shigure. And Yuki, and Shigure knows that something's off with her because he says, yeah, the Soma clan hasn't rented out any of this land to anybody but our family for generations. So they follow her, and she goes to her tent, and she's about to collapse because of how tired she is. But she's going to go wash up.
Leading up to that scene, they find out that she has a part-time job, and she is so hyperactive when it comes to completing that job that it's really easy for the older ladies who share. Like, life has gotten a lot easier since she's been hired.
Yeah, there's just two little ladies who are just sitting there just drinking tea as she cleans everything else.
It looks like she's a maid or a cleaning lady at some kind of hotel or something.
A hotel or just some place that has a big old reception hall or something in it, because they're sitting in some fancy chairs and there's like some fancy artwork in the background and stuff like that. She's working somewhere. Mm-hmm. She's
a gallery or a museum or a hotel. Yeah. They don't specify, but it's clearly a place that hires cleaning services.
But she or has their own cleaning staff, something like that. As she anyway, she goes home. She's about to go shower before she does her homework for that night, even though she's exhausted. And she leaves her tent, and she sees the two guys standing outside of her tent, and she starts freaking out. And they take her back to their home, and they're like, "Look, no, you can't stay out in that tent. There's landslides in this area all over the place." And now I can't help but, knowing what I know now, I can't help but wonder if the landslide was planned. Because so jumping a little ahead a bit, we learned that Shigure is the year of the dog. He transforms into a dog whenever a woman hugs him, and their only real power is that they can communicate with animals. He hears
their type.
The animals of their type. Yep. And he hears a wolf howling, and he just says, "Oh, well, I don't think you can go back to your tent anyways because there was just a landslide." Really? Where? Probably not at my tent. And they go to her tent. It's covered in a landslide. I was just like, and he says, "Oh, I heard the noise of a landslide." And so either he was warned about it and the wolf told him, or he had the wolves do it so to give her an excuse not to stay in that tent. So, but anyway, long story short, landslide covers her tent. She starts freaking out. She wants to dig her mother's picture out of there. I need to get mom out of there. She can't breathe. They take her home, and
all the while she's giving herself a fever with how hard she's working and how.
Yep.
It's just
they take her home. She's sick. She has a fever. They give her medicine and things like that. Real fast. We need to also. No, we can talk about that. No, we can talk about that later. No, this happens earlier. She has a conversation with Yuki at some point, talking about how she wanted to become the year of the cat.
And Yuki has clearly.
This is before she leaves on. Yeah, this is before she leaves for her job, for a part-time job. They're walking home together for a little bit, and then she leaves for a part-time job. But yeah, and Yuki's he hates that idea. He hates the cat. Despises it. And she's like, oh, I guess he doesn't like cats. Well, I gotta go to my part-time job. Bye. But she then collapses from being sick. They take care of her. And Yuki gets up, and as she's resting, Yuki gets up and opens the door. And Shigure is just like, wait a minute, where are you going? Is like, are you really going to that pile of dirt and getting that for her? Well, yeah. I mean, otherwise she's going to do it herself and just, get sick because of it. How about I come with you? Otherwise you'd be alone. And he turns to him and says, and Yuki turns around and says, alone? Who do you think I am? And his eyes are glowing purple. And all of a sudden there's just this image of dozens, hundreds of rats in the shadows behind.
It's a wall of red-eyed rats in the shadows behind.
Kind of like what happened to you when you tried to break through a wall in the death house.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Bit of a tangent. We were playing Death House, or I was running it as part of the Strahd campaign. They're trying to get out as the house is attacking them. And Lee decides to go ahead and break through the wall. Good idea.
Playing a barbarian. It is a completely legitimate decision.
Yeah, no. And also the walls are described that they are crumbling and falling apart at this point. So you attack it. Unfortunately, as written in the rule books, as soon as you break one of the walls, instead of the wall opening up and there being a path, hordes of rats emerge from the wall and start attacking the party. So
I should still be able to break through a horde of rats to get out.
Yeah, no. Anyway. Anyway, she wakes up the next morning and all her stuff's there. Yuki's brought the remainder of her belongings.
Her effects are now in a pair of handled paper bags.
Yep.
And on the top of one of those bags is a ratty hat. It's clearly very old. It's starting to fray in places, a bit moth-worn, as it were. And they have alluded to the importance of this hat without any point during the first 3 episodes really saying why. It's just kind of it's slightly more subtle than the arrow pointing at the vase, and it's like, hey, you should be paying attention to this just a little bit.
On High School Host Club. Yeah. Look at this vase. Look at this vase.
We're not even being subtle right now.
Look at this vase right here. This super expensive, important vase.
Oh, also these banana peels.
Oh, yeah, these banana peels. No, they... there's something very important about that hat. And I have not seen the original. I'm assuming it belonged to her dad. I could be wrong about that.
I don't think it does.
I think it's an important...
There's one shot that's kind of a flashback scene where her mother is talking to her and helping her feel better. And then suddenly it's one frame, one shot where she's being handed a hat by a boy that is slightly taller than her at that age. So it's somebody in her age group, but there's deliberate scribbles over his face, over his head.
I have a theory about that. I want to go ahead and talk to that when we get to episode 3, where they talk about episode, maybe it's episode 1. No, I think it's episode. I don't remember what episode it is. Anyways, I don't keep track of what episode is what. Just kind of want to share my thoughts about the show. Anyway, yeah, that's very important. That is very important. But now that you bring that up, I think now that we, well, I think we know what. I have a theory as to why, because they really hinted at something. But anyway,
they're probably playing up the the secret forgotten childhood friend trope of some kind.
Well, for reasons, it's forgotten. But anyway, I wanted to point this out when they've noticed that she's living in a tent. I forgot to write this. When they realize that she's living in a tent, Shigure just starts laughing.
Yes,
just
he can't
laughing.
Stop himself.
And they're in from the point where they're in outside of her tent to inside the house before she collapses from her fever. He's still laughing.
Can't stop.
So I was like, oh man, oh Shigure. But anyway, I wanted to point out the bit where I hadn't seen this before, and I had forgotten the synopsis when I started watching this. So them turning into zodiac animals, I didn't know about that at first.
I did know that was a thing. That was a gimmick in the show when I started.
But when his eyes glow and it shows all the rats, that's when the show hooked me. That's this game that at first it just was kind of this fun, silly show. But then as soon as they threw that element into it, I was like, ooh, okay, so there's a lot more going on here. Good. I want to see this. But yeah. So they convince her to stay. They bring her bags up to her room, and then someone shouts out for Yuki, jumps up, crashes through the roof, and demands Yuki of the roof of Toru's new room.
Yeah, Toru's having assigned a new room. It's a bit musty. They're airing it out, and right through the roof, right in the middle of a conversation between Yuki and Toru.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, no, it's great. And then Kyo, this is Kyo. Kyo has orange hair.
Yes.
And Kyo jumps through the roof, and he challenges Yuki to a fight. He says, I'm no longer the weakling that I was several months ago. I now know I can beat you. And they're about to get into this fight. Sweet little Toru doesn't want to see anybody fight, and so she jumps at Kyo to get him to stop. And this is another thing we should probably mention. They said earlier that the prince, Yuki, a girl confessed, and he said no, and then she jumped him, and then he flipped her around and danced away.
Yes.
Or pranced away or whatever. And so she grabs Kyo. Kyo turns into a cat.
A full standard sized pet
house cat.
With the standards all in the orange that is the cat's hair. That is Kyo's hair color.
And I forget exactly what happens yet, but one thing one thing leads to another, and she ends up grabbing Yuki and Shigure, and they all Yuki turns into a rat. Yuki turns into a rat, and Shigure turns into a dog.
And that's how the episode ends. The next episode starts with somebody ringing the doorbell, and she's holding all three of them in her arms. And says, I've got animals. Like, I see that, says the delivery man. Like, can you sign for this? No, you don't understand.
Yeah.
And then the dog takes a stamp and puts the family crest stamp.
The dog stamp.
Oh, that is a well-trained dog. Very smart.
And he gets up and he leaves.
And then once he's gone, the animals start discussing amongst themselves.
Mhm.
Okay, now she knows we turn into animals. What are we going to do about this? It's like they could still talk.
They can talk like
And
people.
and
What?
so Shigure then proceeds to tell her the situation. They're
Uh-huh.
possessed. It's a family curse that every single member of the family is in some way possessed by one of the 12 or the 13 zodiac spirits, the 12 official and the cat. Um, and but after a while, they turn back human.
Uh-huh.
Buck naked, of course.
Buck naked. And like they say, oh, it's just after a while. Don't worry about it. After a while, we all turn back into humans. And then poof, different colored smoke for each of the guys. Buck naked, of course, and they actually say that. And then
Yes.
she just there's this adorable scene where she just turns around, blushes, and just tries to hide her face from seeing three naked men. She's a sweetheart. She's an absolute sweetheart. Um, I guess that's putting it mildly. She's a sweetheart, but she's really just this kind-hearted, wonderful girl.
Oh, she also something she does for them. She love her father died from sickness when she was 3 or 4.
Yeah, they said
And she
3.
was taking care of, and she learned how to cook and clean to take care of the house while her mother worked from a young age. And so it was a skill set that she's had in plenty.
And she enjoyed doing it because she was able to help her mom.
And apparently, Yuki and Shigure have no domestic skills whatsoever. And so when her fever first spikes, they open the door to the kitchen, and it is floor to ceiling garbage bags. Just
and she says something like,
decay.
"Wait, a what? A what?
The sea of decay."
That's right. Oh, it's a sea of decay. And she goes, "Right? Isn't that a great way of describing it? That's incredible." But she cleans that for them and then makes breakfast for them the next day. But before we say that, we should probably say that she goes like, "Look, we might as well just tell her the truth." I mean, she like rather than telling her just some weird lie, we might as well just tell her the truth. Our clan, for the last several hundred years, every member of our clan has been able to transform into a member of the zodiac animals. Don't know why, but every time we get hugged by every time we get hugged by a member of the opposite sex, we turn into that animal.
Yep.
So,
and it's just her domestic skills were part of her selling point as to why she was allowed to keep living with Shigure and Yuki, because after then I went back to bring this up because after she was discovered, Shigure had to tell the head of the family about what had happened.
Yep. And
so I don't know what specifically he said to encourage this sort of behavior, but the head of the family agreed to let her keep her memories of this because apparently they have the ability to erase memories, which is
hypnotism is what they say. But excuse me, kind of jumping around a little bit here with the
timeline.
Excuse me, I had pizza for dinner and I'm burping up pepperoni. But anyway, with the hypnotism and erasing memory and stuff like that, we have a flashback with Yuki where he's playing with kids around his age, and this one girl trips him and hugs him by accident, and he turns into a rat.
Yep.
And and Yuki's talking to Shigure, and he's just like, "Look, I know the reason you told her the truth is because we're going to erase her memories, just like we did before." And Shigure is just like, "No, we're not doing it this time because the reason we did it last time is because of how many people learned about it. There was no way for us to keep it secret otherwise. This time it's just one person, and she's a very honest person, and I'm pretty sure we can trust her." Yeah. And that might be a good sign because dogs are really good at knowing if you're a good person or
not. Scientifically proven that dogs can tell who a good person is.
Yep. And it's also been scientifically proven that dogs view us as family and will even prioritize our sense over other people. And I love dogs. Can't have a dog just yet. Don't live in a place where I can have a dog, but whatever. That's life right now. Anyway,
So
going back
everybody listening to this podcast right now, subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, and eventually we'll have enough ad revenue to get Andrew a dog. So do that now.
Sure. Let's pitch get Andrew a dog. We haven't tried that angle just yet. Let's pitch get Andrew a dog. Anyway.
Why not?
Anyway, going back to the hypnotism. Sure. Going back to the hypnotism. I mean, brunette Rick Hunter didn't work, but going back to the hypnotism, it's revealed that Yuki's still very upset about it, and there was a lot of people there that don't remember. And I can't help but wonder if one of the reasons that they don't want to hypnotize Toru is what if they can only hypnotize a person once? Because I think that she was one of the people that was hypnotized in that group of children.
That would explain a lot.
Because that would explain a lot. That would explain the hat that they're alluding to, that she got it from a boy that she doesn't really remember. Yeah, and it will be interesting to see what happens when. I don't know, because maybe he doesn't remember the hat. Maybe he doesn't remember the hat at this point because he did give her the bags full of her stuff that he gathered himself. So anyway,
hat. So it's a generic hat. It's blue.
Yeah.
And faded and old.
It's faded blue. It's grayish now.
I mean, it's that there's nothing significant about the style of the hat that should cause any kind of throwback thoughts to it. There's not a logo or a brand. That's so clear about it.
Yeah.
It's not like a solid black hat with the word Roger emblazed in black on it.
Whatever do you mean by that?
Oh, don't you remember did you ever watch
it's not a hoodie with the word Opie on it.
Ask a Ninja.
Oh, Ask a Ninja? Yeah, I remember that. I remember that now. Yeah.
I mean, there was a bit about a ninja named Roger.
You were referencing.
A bit about a ninja named Roger. Well, apparently they made merchandise for him, and it's just a black baseball cap with black letters that says Roger.
Dear Ninja, why do I always feel like that there are a group of ninjas out there wanting to kill me? There's not ninjas out there wanting to kill you. Just one. His name is Roger, and boy, does he want to kill you.
Something like that. Yeah.
Oh gosh, Ask a Ninja. Haven't thought about that show in forever. Anyway, before we get sidetracked again, let's go ahead and move on. It's revealed that Kyo and Yuki, the cat and the rat, are rivals. Kyo is constantly challenging Yuki to fights and constantly losing.
Yes.
We learn
he's very single-minded about the whole thing. In fact, the next morning after he busted into that house, he still wants to challenge Yuki to a fight, and enraged, he, with one punch, smashes a table in half, and half that table nicks Toru right in the middle of her forehead.
Yep.
And she starts bleeding, which causes Yuki to become serious about fighting Kyo.
I'm going to punish you by actually taking you serious for once, so I can just show you how much better I am than you. And just destroys him. Destroys him.
He gets up in his face and is doing that standard anime thing where he's so close but just still can't lay a hand on him. And then he roundhouse kicks him across the yard into the koi pond.
And I think that is after the bit where we learned that Yuki or Kyo got tricked into taking a transfer test.
Yes, tell us about that one.
Yeah, so Kyo comes into the house furious, and he's just shouting, and Shigere's following him. Shigere's in a suit. And Kyo's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why would you do that? And he says, do you enjoy manipulating people like that? And Shigere's just like, I am thoroughly enjoying this, but it is for your own good.
Well, I guess I do enjoy manipulating you about this.
But he tricked him into taking a transfer test So he's at this. So Kyo's at the same school as Yuki and Toru. Well, it turns out that Kyo went to an all-boys school, and it's revealed later that the reason he went to the all-boys school is because he thinks it's crazy going to a school with girls simply because of their, if the risk of being touched. So he wanted to go around to a school with just all boys. That's what his plan was. But to make sure they're all together and probably to keep a better eye on them, they decided to go ahead and have them all go to the same school.
In the area together anyway, and even though he enrolled in an all-boys school, he hadn't gone a single day in the last 4 months. He just spent his time in the mountains training to fight.
Yep, and this is a way to get him to go to school. And he passed the test with flying colors. He didn't cheat or anything. He's an intelligent guy. He just, didn't go to school for 4 months because he wanted to train to beat Yuki in a fight.
And so he ends up in the same class as the other two. And suddenly, now the girl who can sense people's waves and is kind of a cult in nature.
Hanajima. Hanajima
has time and time again said that she senses something about Kyo that's just not quite human and doesn't know why.
Yeah.
And then
there's some weird waves coming off of him.
Yeah, and while Yuki tells people at the school, he may be my cousin, but I've never actually spoken to him. What he says to people at the school. Hanajima is like, they have a very similar waves. Neither one of them.
It's the exact same one, yeah. Yeah, it's like it's the exact same wave. Unless they're giving off something inhuman about them or something like that, and that immediately freaks Toru out.
Her waves are never wrong.
She's like, oh crap. But anyways, Kyo is surrounded by people, and they're constantly asking him questions, and him being
the girls of the class are.
He's very, very standoffish. It's not just the girls. There's a couple of guys as well trying to become friends with him and stuff because he's a new transfer student. People want to get to know him and stuff like that. And he gets up to leave because everyone's annoying him. And this girl dives for him and says, "Hey, wait, stop!" And she wraps her arm around him, but before she can get to his chest and hug him, which is what he's afraid of, he grabs her, flips her around, and pins her, twisting her arm behind her. A very painful thing to do to somebody. And she starts crying out in pain. And everyone's like, dude, what are you doing? He freaks out, jumps out the window of the 3rd floor of the school.
Yes.
And lands on the floor. Lands on the floor like a cat and then just takes off running.
Yep.
She finds him, talks to him, tries to make sure that he's okay. Trying to remember. Oh, and he tries to apologize to her and fails.
Yes.
In the same episode, because Yuki comes in and upsets him immediately. Trying to remember what else happens.
After taking responsibility and patching up the roof, he tries to explain to her how, when it comes to Yuki, he is single-minded and has tunnel vision and doesn't see the other people that he harms.
It's
even then, he just can't quite get it all out because he's clearly got something for her. Not sure what, but he's got some kind of feelings for her. And
Kyo has feelings for Toru.
Kyo blushes around her anytime that he's with her. So he's I don't know if it's attraction or embarrassment, but it's just the nature of what he's doing. And so it comes across as maybe he's got a bit of a crush on her, but anytime he tries talking to her, he gets all flustered and when he's flustered, he's angry. And so she's convinced he hates her because he only ever talks to her with an angry voice.
Yeah. Something like that. Trying to remember how this episode ends.
Well, which leads up to a confrontation because he's out because she ends up in the woods, either coming home from work or something. And,
that's right.
And they keep saying you can't. They keep telling her, no, you can't live in a tent out in the woods. there are perverts out there, and a girl just is not safe living on her own like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so this dark figure is looming up behind her, and she's like, "Is it one of those perverts?" And she screams and swings her school bag and lands perfectly, masking who she hit until the bag comes down, and she had whacked
Kyo.
Kyo.
Mm-hmm.
She had whacked
Mm-hmm.
Kyo.
And that's when he talks to her and stuff like that, and walks her home and stuff.
She then has a she lies and says she was just practicing her swinging and it was an accident, and then she confesses that no, the truth is she was told there were perverts in the area, so she was defending herself. She didn't know who was behind her. And he then manages to spit out an apology that she's able to tell it's an apology. So she spits out. He's able to spit out an apology, and then she confesses that she always liked cats, and that she
wanted to give up being a dog in order to become a year of the cat.
Yeah. So she confesses that to him, and it's the first time anyone has ever said anything that nice to him. And so, him being who he is, has no idea how to deal with it, so he deals with it angry. But that's what happens. The next episode, a lot of stuff happens at the school.
Yeah, they start off playing Rich Man, Poor Man.
Yes,
and
a standard deck of cards that what did you call her? What's the Japanese word for a delinquent?
Oh, a Yankee.
A Yankee, yeah. So the blonde Yankee challenges him, and then basically calls his manhood into question when.
They start saying, "Oh, we wanted to play you because we thought you'd be an easy mark." She flat out accuses him of being an easy mark. And so their two personalities clash, and they play Rich Man, Poor Man.
Loser gets all the cleaning duties.
Yep, loser takes over everyone's cleaning duties. And so they play Rich Man, Poor Man, and they he loses. But before he loses, we see they're wondering where Yuki is. Yuki's nowhere to be found. And then it cuts to the library. Yuki's in the library, and a girl's confessing to him. And he just says, "I'm sorry, I'm not interested in dating." And she says, "Look, I know what people say about you. I know that you're distant, you're cold, but I still like you. Please, can we date?" And she dives for him, and he grabs her and puts her to the side, and she runs off.
Catches the sides of her head.
Oh yeah, that's right. He grabs the side of her head, just like,
yeah.
And she's like, and then she cries and runs off. Yeah. And then he goes and he sees,
and she accuses him of, what other people. She tells him what other people have been saying about him, and so that gets kind of rough for him too.
Oh, we should probably mention this entire time. We learned that Yuki does not want to be part of the Soma clan. He wants nothing to do with the Soma clan.
Everything,
and he actually admires. He admires Toru for her bravery, for her willingness to move out and live in a tent. And he says to himself, I keep saying how much I hate the Somas and how I want to be completely separate and away from the Somas. But,
But she was willing to go even further.
She was willing to live in a tent. But here I am still here, and then, of course, Shigure makes fun of him for it. So he calls himself spoiled. But anyways, and we learn that Kyo wants to take his place. Kyo wants to be in the Soma clan.
Thinks that by beating him in combat, he'll get that opportunity.
That he'll prove that he's better and that he's more worthy to be in the Somas than Yuki is. But anyways, Yuki is walking back to the classroom, and he looks inside, and he sees them all having a really fun time together playing Rich Man, Poor Man.
Yeah.
And even the guys who you had thought he had scared off because of how he treated that girl and how he ran off. Being buddy, cool with him, giving him a nickname, calling him Kyo, which just makes him all the more upset. And there's still there are girls and stuff around there as well. What's that?
I thought it was Kyon, like they added the N at the end.
Maybe it might be Kyon. I don't remember, but they call him a nickname and it pisses him off.
Yes, it does.
Anyway, and even some of the girls that got scared because of him, they were all there. They were still there because they were attracted to who he is. They were attracted to his personality. Yes. And in this episode, it is explained that he has a very rough first encounter with people, but he is who he is, and people come to admire him because of that. Once they get past that first encounter, they know that he is who he is. And you realize
it's literally like a cat. A cat will be standoffish and crass, but if a cat graces you with its presence, you will appreciate it. You're not going to kick a cat away. So this cat's going to be standoffish at first, but if it decides to come near you, you're not going to.
Sorry, I was just looking at my own cat who's asleep on the floor because there's no spot on my lap right now. But I just want to apologize to all the cat lovers out there for the personal attack that my brother just sent on you. I'm joking.
What are you even talking about?
What am I talking about? You just said that cats are standoffish and all these horrible things about cats. Come on, it's a joke these days.
Everybody knows that cats are like this. Even cat lovers know cats are like this.
Toby's not standoffish.
Toby's psychotic.
Toby is playful. Anyway. So Yuki then realizes what the girl was saying is right, that he distances himself from people. On the way home, after Toru leaves work for the day, she sees Yuki there to walk her home. And again, he says, it's super late at night. A girl can't be walking home by herself at this time. So I came here to walk home with you. And she's grateful for it. She says something that embarrasses him. I don't remember what it is. But as she's talking to him, she notices that he's upset. Oh, no, that's what she says. She says, oh, thank you so much. You and Kyo are such nice people. Yeah. And that upsets Yuki. Yeah, and then she says, please, she notices that he's upset. And she says, please, if there's anything that's upsetting you, I want you to talk to me about it. Please just open up and tell me what's going on.
Yeah, she says
keeping her distance from him.
She says this to him while they're crossing a bridge.
No. She says this to him right before she gets run into by a drunkard that pushes her into him, turning him into a rat.
Yes, they're outside. They had met at school. They had gotten outside, and they were. I want to say they were near or on a bridge.
Mm-hmm. He opens up to her while they're on the bridge.
Right.
So at least that's what I remember. But he opens up to her while they're on a bridge, and he tells her about the time when he played with all these kids and they all got their memories erased because of an accident, because a little girl accidentally hugged him, which we talked about a little bit earlier. And she's listening this entire time, and she realizes that he starts talking about how easy it is for Kyo to make friends, for Kyo to be close to people. Whereas he joined this school to get away from the Soma family, to show that he's not afraid of being around people of the opposite sex, that it doesn't bother him. But he realized the entire time he's still emotionally keeping himself closed off to people. And he talks about how he's jealous. And you wanted to point that out as well.
Yeah.
So,
it was made
how the two characters are two opposites of the same coin.
Yeah, it was made clear every moment of the first few episodes that how jealous Kyo is of Yuki's position. And then when it's revealed how jealous Yuki is of Kyo and how annoyed he is by Kyo's jealousy of him,
mm-hmm.
Like, you have everything that I want. Stop coveting what I have.
Uh-huh.
And so that's the situation.
Yeah, exactly. And they're both jealous of each other.
But the turn of events was he's waiting for her at the school. They're walking down the street, and she asks passionately, with the Japanese tone of you shout when you're serious,
Mm-hmm.
that Yuki share his problems with her,
Mm-hmm.
because they want to become closer to him and become closer friends. And that's when the drunkard says, "Oh, look at these two kids flirting,"
And it's
and
like, would
stumbles
you
into
two
her,
stop flirting and go home already type thing? And
stumbles into her, who stumbles into him, turns him into a rat, and
she's
he's got
holding his clothes while he's
the drunks
walking.
just walk on by.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're walking down the bridge, and that's when he's telling her about all these problems. And
Mm-hmm.
then the typhoon hits, and it's not clear whether or not water speeds up the process of turning back human, but the first raindrops seem to be, and now Puff of Smoke, here he is naked in the rain.
Yep, naked in the rain, and the entire time she was holding his clothes for him.
Yeah.
She had folded them nicely, and she was holding them, and he was walking like an anthropomorphic rat, just on his hind legs as he was talking and opening it up with her. And there's this great scene. I don't exactly remember where this falls in the episode, but there's this great scene where she just says, well, she's got this mental image of the two of them finally coming to agreement, finally coming to understand each other, and it's like it's even drawn as if it's like.
We will be
it's
best
drawn
friends
where it's
forever.
kind of
It's like
mocking.
a girl's perfect imagination.
They have like the sparkly eyes and things like that you'll see in some shoujo manga and stuff like that, or at least in artwork that's kind of poking fun at shoujo manga. And they shake hands during the sunset, and then she pops up blushing, thinking, "Oh yeah, no, that's never gonna happen," type thing.
Like that's actually kind of worse.
Yeah, they're just like, "Oh yeah, no, that's worse. No, let's stick with how it is." But anyway, they get home, and they're both soaking wet.
Both soaking wet, and then they find out the news that it was a typhoon that had hit, and so it's going to get worse. So he grabs a tarp and runs, and Toru doesn't know what's going on. It turns out that Yuki, which something he calls a secret base, is a garden.
Yeah, and he invited her to this secret base in a previous episode. Said maybe I'll take you to it sometime, and she gets super excited. And there's this child.
She gets stars in her eyes
as she this crayon drawing that appears in her back in her head, like secret cannon on top, secret door, secret toilet, secret bedroom, just secret window. It's like very much a child's drawing of what a secret base would be. It was great.
It's a garden.
Mm.
And so they're talking to each other even more as they're tarping down the garden and trying to get things.
Mm-hmm. And she talks about how incredible he is, and lets him see how incredible he is in her eyes. We also forgot to kind of mention this. They decided they're good at school. They're deciding what they're going to do for the cultural festival.
Yes.
And they decide they're going to go ahead and sell onigiri. They're going to make an onigiri stand, which is Japanese rice balls, otherwise known as hamburgers in certain or donuts, I should say. They call them donuts in the original American release of Pokemon, even though it's very clearly a rice ball that they're eating.
Pokemon and their inability to accept that people eat Japanese food.
Oh, no, like it's even worse in the Phoenix Wright games. It's so bad.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Sure I need to send you a comic that was done by Awkward Zombie, where he's just like, yes, San Francisco, truly the greatest city in all of this United States of America. As he's wearing a kimono, looking outside of a window, and he sees Tokyo Tower and Mount Fuji. Yeah. And it was a comic making fun of just the incredibly hilarious localizations. Like, here, sit down, have lunch underneath our traditional American kotatsu. Something about this seems wrong. What? Really? Well, pull up and just eat your lunch, Apollo. Come, eat your hamburgers as they're eating sushi. Yeah, it's... Anyway, it's weird, but I love Awkward Zombie so much. Anyway,
Anyway,
they
so
spend the
they're
night
talking
covering the garden in a tarp. The next morning, they pluck up some fresh chives that are ready to be cooked, used, and so she spends the morning practicing making onigiri.
Before that, just really quickly, and this is just a cinematic trick that was just a little too over the top for me, but what's his name? After all the complimenting that Toru gave Yuki, and after plucking up some of those the leeks that they had grown, the chives that they had grown, Toru pays one last compliment to Yuki or in some way, and Yuki gives her his first genuine smile right as the sun rises right behind him. And so it's just this bright yellow flash of a smile. And it's just kind of the silly, glorious moment. Like,
yeah,
I think that's the first time I've ever seen him genuinely smile. If I could get him to do that at school, I'm sure he'd make lots of friends.
Oh, yeah. And sunrise in Japan is super early. Like, it's really early in Japan for sunrise. As opposed to here in Utah, where, we're used to the sun not coming over the mountains until 7:30 or something like that. But in Japan, it's especially during the summer, it rises really early, early. But yeah, so they go back to the house and she's making onigiri, and Kyo walks in, realizes that she's been. What's that?
Go ahead.
Okay, she's been making onigiri ever since they got back, type thing. These rice balls, and Kyo walks up and is impressed that she's been making these rice balls, and he decides to try one. He eats one and goes and washes his mouth out because it's filled with chives, fresh chives, and chives have a strong flavor, especially if you have fresh ones.
Yeah.
And Hello Kitty, hi. He decided to go and take up room on my desk. What's that?
It's a bitter root. It's a seasoning.
Yeah, it's a seasoning. It's strong. I've got a jar of freeze-dried chives on my spice shelf, and you don't need much to get a nice strong flavor. And so these are fresh chives inside of onigiri, and it turns out he hates chives. He just hates the flavor. And so he's like, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to make my own. And so he makes his own rice ball. She compliments him on his ability to make a really nice rice ball.
Yeah, he does it
very
easily.
He does it very quickly, very easily, and he starts eating it himself. And then he goes and he sits down, and then Yuki comes in and he says, "Good morning. Wait, have you been making, did you even sleep after that?" She's like, "Nope, I had too much to do. So here we are. I'm just making these, practicing them, making some onigiri for the cultural festival." Yep. And he notices that one of these onigiri is half eaten. And she's like, "Oh, it's okay. He doesn't like chives. It turns out he doesn't like chives. It's fine." And Yuki, who knows exactly what she went through so they could have those fresh chives that morning, goes over to Kyo, grabs his head, and shoves it in his mouth.
Plugs his nose. Holds him by the nose to force his mouth open, and shoves this chives into his mouth.
Yeah. He's just like, no, with what she went through, you are going to respect the fact that she made this. Doesn't matter if you like it or not.
Before that moment, there is a moment of silly pontificating that Toru does. It's very insightful, but she realizes, so everybody has a plum on their back. The plum being the ideal center of one of those onigiri.
Yeah. Well, so, depending on the onigiri you're making, but yeah.
And so everybody has this delightful core to themselves, but it's on their back and they can't see it. Only other people can see it. Everybody else just thinks of themselves as this plain white rice bowl. They can only see themselves from the outside. They don't see what's really special about themselves. They only see what's special about other people. And so she goes into this pontificating moment, and Kyo's like, "That is really sweet and the stupidest analogy I ever heard."
And she's like, "Oh, wait, maybe I should have gone with octopus or something else."
Or salmon, because you like salmon.
Salmon, because you like salmon. But then he says,
and that's
you have a great you've got a you have
A plum too.
you have a plum as well, and that embarrasses her. But yeah, that's when Yuki comes down.
Oh, really? A very, very tiny one.
A very, very tiny one. Yeah.
Like, those are the best kind.
And then the episode ends with this girl showing up, hiding behind a tree, saying, "Are you Honda Toru?" Yeah. And she's very, very shy. Very, very well. I don't know, shy, but kind of scared.
How the episode ends was before that she's leaving work, and one of the people who's associated with a rabbit in the ending credits is sitting in the lobby where she's leaving. Mm-hmm. And Toru is so busy thinking about what she's doing, she's not paying attention to the stairs she's going down, falls down the stairs, and then just laughs it off. And at the place where she works.
I'm pretty sure that's earlier. I don't think that's the very end.
It's not the very, but it's leading up to it. So they introduce the bunny girl who laughs at her for falling down and then sees her name and then tries to talk to her, but is speaking in a foreign language, which she assumes is English, and it's not. It's very Scandinavian, if anything.
It's pretty sure it's German. That's what it sounded like to me.
But then she gives her a kiss on the cheek. I was like, oh! Which she runs off.
Freaks Toru out, obviously.
and Toru drops a flyer to the school festival that she's been prepping these balls for. Mm-hmm. And the way the episode ends is the girl who I think is the fox, based on the ending credit sequence, is there deeply blushing and is asking if Kyo is around.
Yeah. And that's when the episode ends. And according to the description of the next episode, this girl is the fox, or whatever her name is actually in love with Kyo, and she thinks and she's jealous of Toru, thinking that they're lovers or something like that. So yeah, something like that. Anyways, yeah, so that's the first 3 episodes. I liked it. I liked it a whole lot. I can see why it was beloved. Back in the day, so many people just talked about the show. It was one of the few, there wasn't a ton of anime that people had in the 90s, but this was one of the ones that made the rounds. I just never had the chance to watch it. I know plenty of people who did and swear by it. They love it. From what I've heard about this one, it's very different than the first one, but it's still really good. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
It's very interesting. I don't mind it. It is a bit. It is a bit. I'm not sure. I mean,
you don't know if you're going to watch more.
Well, I've got so much on my plate right now that I'm not sure I'm going to try to watch more. I mean, maybe it's a maybe for me. It's not a no, but with everything else that I've been trying to finish, we'll see.
Oh, I adore it, and I want to see. And it says season 1. Like in the opening credits, it says season 1. So obviously they're going to do more. But I really want to see, because obviously it's a love story. Yeah. It's a love story, I want to say, between Toru and Yuki. But I want to see how on earth they figure out how to have a relationship, especially a physical relationship, when he turns into a rat every time she hugs him.
Right.
And not even when she hugs him, it's like when she comes into contact with his chest area. Because when Shigure turned into a dog, she just kind of fell onto him. Her arms weren't around him or anything.
Right. So how they define hug is pretty loose.
Yeah. But anyways, I liked it. I'm definitely going to go ahead and watch more. But yeah, so that's it for that show. Next week, we're going to be watching a show that I've already seen all the episodes for, except for, I think, the most recent one. Doug told me about this a while ago, and I went ahead and I watched it. But after I was watching it, I was like, this is something that Lee needs to watch.
Okay.
Wise Man's Grandchild. Not enough people online are talking about this one. And it's a good one. It's really worth it. Says here, so, and this is the synopsis once again taken from Crunchyroll. A young man dies in a car accident and is reborn in a magical new world. The old, yet wise Merlin finds the boy, names him Shin, raises him from infancy, and teaches him combat and powerful magic along the way. 15 years later, Shin is ready to travel the globe on his own, but Merlin forgot to teach him something major: common sense.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And I'll just go ahead and say this real fast. He's able to apply our world's science to their world's magic and do incredible things with it.
Reminds me of the blue-haired girl from Gate reading a chemistry book and then being able to use her spell to move an entire lake of water.
Yeah. Imagine something like that. But this is a comedy. This is there's some serious elements to it, but it's very lighthearted. It's very much a comedy.
When you throw a main character without common sense into a modern world situation,
he doesn't realize how special and how powerful he is. Every time he casts a spell and he sees people's reaction to it, he's like, wait, is that really that incredible? So, yeah, just watch it. I can't wait to talk to you about the first 3 episodes, and I can't wait for people to listen in. But yeah, it's great. It's a fantastic show. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and watch that for our next 3 episodes in for next week.
Great.
All right, that's it for 3 episodes in. Now we've got recommendation of the week, and it's your turn.
And this week I was going through a list of anime that I'd seen and ones that I could that I remembered watching. And I was going to recommend Duel, but I didn't remember enough of it to really give a good, strong synopsis.
Okay.
I have to try to find it again before I give it another recommendation. But this week I'm going to recommend Interviews with Monster Girls.
Okay.
That's
on my to read list.
Yes, it's a harem-ish anime where if the protagonist is a teacher at a school where monster girls are students and some teachers are also monster girls.
Mm-hmm.
And they're and he's trying to get to know them a bit more. One of the girls is a snow woman. She looks perfectly normal but has no body temperature and absorbs heat from other people by touching them. She's incredibly cold to touch. One of the girls is a vampire and actually likes being with somebody cold.
Jeez. Okay.
But the cutest one is a Dullahan. Is a headless horse girl.
Yeah. I know what Dullahan is.
Yeah. So and she's got this like green light coming out of the base of her neck and out of the bottom of her head. And so there's scenes where her head is on a pillow on the shore of a pool while her body is swimming back and forth.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's on my to read list. I really want to read it. I don't know if I'll have time to watch it, but I've heard nothing but great things about it. Okay. So it's what's that?
It seems pretty adorable.
Cool. Creator shout out. It's my turn. And this week I'm going to go ahead and shout out to Duck Lord Ethan. I could not find Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram for this guy. I only found him on DeviantArt. I shared his work with you before while we were on break. This is the guy who drew My Marvel Academia, where the main character is Peter Parker. And it's just incredible, the artwork that this guy has created. He's kind of taken a break from making new stuff from it, and that's fine. He can draw whatever he wants. But yeah, it's just seeing Marvel characters in the My Hero Academia style is so awesome. There's this amazing shot. You remember the shot where All Might and the Nomu's fists meet as they're punching? Well, All Might is Iron Man, and the Nomu is one of the Sentinels from A Days of Future Past. One of the futuristic ones, the ones that shapeshift. Yeah, okay. And it's just the two of them punching in that arena that they're in. It's such a cool shot.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways, I can't help but recommend it enough. Just go check out his artwork. Go ahead and follow him on DeviantArt. This guy's just incredibly talented.
Once again, link will be on our website. Come to whitakerweekly.com.
And it'll be on the website. And if we have Twitter, YouTube, if we find other things for him as well, we'll go ahead and link those. But for now, the only thing I can find was DeviantArt. If any of our listeners out there know any more handles this guy goes by, ways that we can contact him and let him know that, we talked about him because we love his stuff, let us know and we'll go ahead and add those links as well. Okay? All right. Well, that just about does it for another episode. A little bit longer than last week, but that's okay. We had a lot to talk about with that show. But thanks so much for listening in this week. If you listened in on YouTube, please feel free to like this episode and subscribe to our channel. If you like what we do and want to support us, please spread the word of our podcast and go ahead and just let people know about us. That's easily the best way for word of mouth is easily the best kind of advertising that there is out there. And where can they find us on social media?
Our website, whitakerweekly.com, currently has the links to our Facebook page, Twitter account, and YouTube channel. We encourage all our listeners to follow us on the social media platform of their preference, and if there's one we're not on yet, please reach out to us on one of the ones we've mentioned, and we'll broaden our scope to include you.
Okay. Well, I want to give a shout out to Ben Coombs for providing the artwork for us.
And another shout out to Brazmataz for his song Dreikolk, which we use for our opening and closers.
All right. Well, that's it for another week. I've been Andrew.
And Lee.
And this has been Whitaker Weekly. You guys have a great week.